Two wingers were the center of attention at the Boston Bruins Foundation golf tournament on Thursday, and we're going to talk about what Taylor Hall and Brad Marchand had to say about the upcoming season here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Friday, September 16th, and this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your day every day. The podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. So please do open up your favorite podcast app, hit that subscribe button, never miss a thing. Saw a list of the top podcasts on someone's Apple feed yesterday. Locked On Boston Bruins was not on it. But we persevere and we move on here on the podcast. Just try to do my best, friends. Love this team. I love talking about this team. And, yeah. Excited about a new season. And that was kind of a buzzword here for Taylor Hall on Thursday as he gets ready for his second full season as a member of the Boston Bruins, playing once again with David Krejci. Before we get to Hall, however, Brad Marchand offered a quick update on his status as he continues to recover from successful hip arthroscopy and labral repairs on both of his hips. Again, the Bruins participated in the annual Boston Bruins Foundation Golf Tournament on Thursday, and today, Brad Marchand plans to be back on the ice for the first time since his procedures. A light skate planned for this morning at Warrior. He said it's pretty much like learning how to skate again. It's going to be very light for the next little while, and then hopefully progressing each week. He added he's eyeing a return around late November, sometime after Thanksgiving. American Thanksgiving. To be clear, I know there's a lot of Canadians that listen to this again. It'd be amazing to have him back for Canadian Thanksgiving, which would be pretty much the beginning of the season, but alas, not expected back until American Thanksgiving at the earliest, which would be, if he's back right after Thanksgiving, that would be the Black Friday game against the Carolina Hurricanes on November 25th. The Bruins next play after that on Tuesday, the 29th, hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then they play the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights to begin December. So, eyeing one of those 4 games, ideally, for his return. He said he had surgery a few years ago on his abs and his groin. It was kind of similar, but he feels like he was able to do more stuff quicker with that. He's never not skated for 4 months, so it's going to take a little bit to get back. He said at first he could walk around, not really do anything else. After 6 weeks, he could start doing a little rehab, and then after 2 months, a bit more. Now he can start skating after doing some training on his upper body. Marchand opted to undergo surgery, knowing that he'd have some extra time for his recovery process coming at the end of the first round of the playoffs. The injury itself came into focus after a 2020 hernia procedure when he continued to feel it on the ice. It was all about figuring out what the root of the issue was, how to rectify it, getting it done sooner than later. And, the fact that the Bruins finished earlier than they thought helps him to be ready earlier for this coming season. He said it's going to be tough to watch, but he thinks the team is in a good spot even without him. The toughest thing would be if the team wasn't winning or doing well, but he doesn't think that's going to be the case. They're going to have a really good start. The guys look really good right now, and hopefully they put a really good push on. That's typically the way they look at it. If you're in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving, typically you can hold that for the rest of the year. Things can happen, and it's about the long game, but hopefully he'll feel good for the rest of the season. He was obviously thrilled when Patrice Bergerons decided to come back. He had a couple drinks that night. He's a player you can't duplicate. They'll never have another one around here of that caliber. He hopes they do. We all do. But he's such a special player. And same with Krejci, he said. Having both of them back in the middle makes the Bruins really deep, and he's excited to have them both back. When the time does come that they're gone, it's going to be a big change for the group. Nobody is looking forward to that, he said. He thinks Pavel Zacha can do a good job filling in for him. Just get open. You don't have to back check. Bergeron will do that for you, he joked. Obviously, he needs to do that to endear himself. But he's a great player. Bergeron said he's going to be fine. And that should help to stabilize the team in his absence. He did talk about David Pasternak's ongoing contract negotiations. Marchand said the team wants to get it done. They've been very vocal about that. It's something the players obviously want to happen, but they don't want to add pressure. If he wants to bring it up, that's kind of how you leave it. If he wants to bring it up, then happy to talk about it. If not, give him the space. Every player has to go through it. It's a stressful time. You don't need guys adding to that stress level. The Bruins just need him to score goals, and they don't need to throw him off. So that's what Brad Marchand had to say at the Bruins Foundation Golf Tournament on Thursday. Going to talk about what Taylor Hall had to say here in a moment, but first a quick word about BetOnline, your number one source for all pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including Week 2's games coming up this weekend. BetOnline is also your continued source for all sports wagering information, from live betting, esports, and scores. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports like Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, Taylor Hall was so keen on having David Krejci back in the mix that he actually was texting new head coach Jim Montgomery asking if David Krejci is coming back. Taylor Hall said personally he felt that Krejci and he had a lot of chemistry. Krejci is a great hockey player, so smart, really good defensively, underrated in that aspect of the game, and a guy that's really going to help the team, help the locker room, and one of those guys that Hall felt was really easy to play with. Hopefully he can hit the ground running, and with the second line, to get that chemistry back will not be difficult. Hall skated with David Krejci, of course, during the pandemic-shortened 2020-2021 season, forming a nice trio with Craig Smith. And with David Pastrnak expected to be on the right side, the expectations are even bigger. Hall personally had 8 goals and 6 assists in 16 games with Krejci. And he's obviously connected with David Pastrnak last season. So Taylor Hall saying he doesn't want to be too pass happy with those guys. The whole line can't be too fancy. There's a lot of speed, a lot of skill, and obviously a great shooter in Pastrnak, a guy in the middle that can play with anyone, and it should be a pretty dynamic trio, perhaps one of the best second lines in the NHL. You didn't want to take anything away from what Eric Howla did last year. That line did some really good things, but Krejci is such a great player. He's been a lifelong Bruin. He's a guy that has stature in the locker room, and the Bruins are going to rely on him to play well and give the team some added leadership. There's some opportunity for Hall with Marchand being out, Jake DeBrusk being on the right side. He's the de facto top left winger on the team. There's some players that are marquee players for the Bruins. There's other guys that there's a lot of opportunity to lead, to step up, to play prime spots, and that's really exciting for Hall. He's not people don't see him as a core member of the Bruins per se. You think of Bergeron, Krejci, Marchand, McAvoy. But Taylor Hall, like I talked about a couple weeks ago, is a former Hart Trophy winner. He is a first overall pick. He's a star player in the NHL, and he's going to have an opportunity here to begin the season to really make an impact here for the Boston Bruins. Jim Montgomery and the rest of the Bruins coaching staff, they recently went on a 4-day retreat in Old Orchard Beach, a place that I spent many a day, many an afternoon when I worked on Sebago Lake. Summer camp down there, fun fact. Montgomery said they've spent a lot of time together just trying to get on the same page, getting their language down, getting to know the players. There's not going to be a lot of overhaul for the Bruins. The Bruins were a really good hockey team. They won 55 games last year, and Montgomery not trying to reinvent the wheel here. He's just trying to come in and do his thing, make his mark on the Boston Bruins, trying to improve on what they were able to achieve last season. Excited was the word of the day. A lot of players saying that, and I, for one, am very excited about this team. I think there's reason to be optimistic about these Boston Bruins. There's reason to be excited. When they're healthy, Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Hall, Krejci, Pastrnak, come on. That is a dynamic top six. And when McAvoy comes back, McAvoy, Lindholm, Grizzly, Carlo, pretty good top four there, with McAvoy being an elite defenseman in this league. Swayman, Ullmark on the back end should be solid as well. The depth pieces need to click in order for the Bruins to succeed this season. The third line needs to step up. Nick Foligno needs to step up. Jakobs Borrell needs to step up. Connor Clifton, Derek Forbort need to play like they did in the playoffs. Forbort especially. But I'm excited about this team, to be honest, and I'm excited about training camp beginning next week. And I'm thankful for all those who have jumped on board so far with the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. We're entering our 4th season here, 2 shortened by the pandemic. Last year was the first full season, and we've experienced tremendous growth here on the podcast. And I hope that you'll join me by subscribing on your favorite podcast app, jumping on the YouTube channel, where you will get immediate reaction to breaking news items as well as post-game during the regular season. Let's keep growing that YouTube channel, keep the conversation going, and I really do appreciate everyone who has jumped on so far. I realize I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe not edgy enough for some people. But I just try to bring daily, rational, useful, entertaining Bruins content to your feeds. I do recommend you check out the Locked On NHL podcast next. Our team of local experts will give you a daily 30-minute update on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world with Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute podcast. Now, the Boston Bruins are in Buffalo. That would be the Bruins prospects are in Buffalo to participate in the Prospects Challenge involving the Ottawa Senators, the Pittsburgh Penguins, New Jersey Devils, and the host Sabres. I'm quite excited to see some of these guys in action. Fabian Lysell, of course, being among them. And hopefully we'll be able to stream this game this afternoon at 3:30. I haven't seen anything from the Bruins, but I might be able to tap into the Senators feed. Hopefully there's a way, and if there is, I will be sure to share that. Some other players to watch, of course, I'll be watching Matthew Poitras, Guelph Storm center, who was selected in the second round this past season, or this past draft, I should say. One of the older players at the Prospects Challenge is J.D. Greenway. He split last season between AHL and the ECHL. He was drafted 72nd overall by the Maple Leafs in 2016. He's a former blue liner, but he's listed as a forward by the Bruins in this challenge. Of course, John Beecher, I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully take a step forward. Jacob Lauko as well. Mark McLaughlin, Georgi Merkulov. These are guys that could be in line for some time with the NHL team this season in the event of injury or a shakeup on the roster. On the blue line, certainly looking forward to seeing Ryan Mast, Jackson Edward, the two OHL guys, Mike Callahan, who was acquired from the Coyotes last season. And then we have the tandem in net of Brandon Bussey and Reed Dick. Just the best prospect goalie tandem you could ask for. And I believe it will be Bussey who will get the start this afternoon against Ottawa. That's it for today's episode, my friends. I hope you've all had a great week. I'm excited today to check out some new music from Death Cab for Cutie and Marcus Mumford. Excited to watch the new Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power tonight. What else? House of the Dragon on Sunday. It's our 10-year-old's birthday party tomorrow. We're heading to a park, play some basketball, splash pad, pizza, and trying to get over this cold that I've been fighting that was brought home from school as well. Again, thank you so much for listening. You can expect all the latest on the black and gold every day beginning Monday, as we'll be back to 5 days a week beginning September 19th. Training camp will begin next week. Next Saturday, we have a preseason game against the Philadelphia Flyers. So lots of exciting content coming here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Have a great weekend, friends. Talk to you again on Monday.